I'll provide the complete script in a reusable format. Have you ever taken a job that seemed strange, almost too strange to be true? A job that made no sense at first, but ended up changing your entire life? What if a struggling single dad, barely making ends meet, accepted a mysterious offer from a female billionaire, and discovered that the real reward had nothing to do with money? Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment below telling us where you're watching from. Welcome to Kindness Paradise, where every story reminds us that one act of kindness can change a life forever. Michael Turner was a single father living in a small town in Ohio. Every morning, he woke up before sunrise, packed lunches for his 2 children, and rushed off to work. Life wasn't easy. After his wife passed away from an illness 3 years earlier, Michael became both mom and dad to 8-year-old Emma and 10-year-old Noah. He loved them with all his heart, but there were days when the bills piled up faster than he could pay them. One rainy afternoon, Michael received a phone call that changed everything. "Mr. Turner," a woman's voice asked. "Yes. You've been selected for a private job opportunity. The pay is excellent. Transportation and housing are included." Michael frowned. "What kind of job?" "I'm afraid the details are confidential until you arrive." Normally, he would have hung up, but when he heard the salary, his eyes widened. It was more money than he could earn in 6 months. A week later, after arranging for his sister to watch the children, Michael boarded a plane. The destination was a massive estate overlooking the ocean in California. When he arrived, he was stunned. The mansion looked like something from a movie. Inside, he finally met the person behind the mysterious offer. Her name was Victoria Hayes. She was one of the wealthiest women in America. Michael expected someone cold and arrogant. Instead, Victoria greeted him with a warm smile. "Thank you for coming," she said. "What exactly am I supposed to do?" Michael asked. Victoria hesitated. Then she looked out the window. "I need someone to help me complete a list." "A list?" She nodded. "My father passed away 6 months ago. Before he died, he left me 20 handwritten notes. Each one contains a random act of kindness he wanted completed." Michael blinked. "That's the job." Victoria smiled sadly. "Yes." At first, Michael thought it sounded ridiculous. Why would a billionaire need help being kind? But over the next few days, he learned the truth. Victoria's father had built his fortune from nothing. Despite his wealth, he never forgot people who were struggling. Before his death, he wrote down 20 kindness missions. Not because he wanted publicity. Not because he wanted praise. Because he believed kindness was life's greatest investment. The first mission was simple. Deliver groceries to 10 elderly residents living alone. Michael and Victoria spent the entire day driving around town. At every stop, they carried bags to front doors. Many of the seniors were surprised. Some even cried. One elderly woman hugged Victoria tightly. "I've felt invisible for years," she whispered. Victoria's eyes filled with tears. That night, she admitted something. "I've spent years running companies and chasing success, but today felt more meaningful than any business deal I've ever signed." As the weeks passed, they completed more missions. One note instructed them to pay off school lunch debts for struggling families. Another asked them to repair a playground in a poor neighborhood. Another encouraged them to anonymously buy winter coats for children. Every mission changed someone. But something else was changing too. Victoria. And Michael. For the first time in years, Michael wasn't constantly worrying about money. He was helping people. And it reminded him of the person he used to be before grief took over his life. One afternoon, while painting benches at a community park, Victoria asked him a question. "Do you ever get tired?" Michael laughed. "Every day." "No. I mean emotionally." The question caught him off guard. He stared at the paintbrush in his hand. "Honestly?" "Yes." Victoria nodded. "So do I." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Michael shared stories about raising his children. Victoria listened carefully. She admitted she often felt lonely despite her wealth. Millions of people knew her name, but very few truly knew her. A friendship slowly formed. Not because of money. Not because of status. Because they understood each other's pain. Several months later, only one note remained. Victoria saved it for last. The envelope was older than the others. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single sentence. If you're reading this, find someone who reminds you that life is about people, not possessions. Victoria read the words twice. Then she sat quietly. Tears rolled down her face. Michael placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. She looked at him. My father knew me better than anyone. Michael nodded. He sounds like a wise man. Victoria smiled through her tears. He would have liked you. The next day, Michael prepared to return home. His job was finished. The kindness missions were complete. As he packed his suitcase, someone knocked on the door. It was Victoria. She handed him a small folder. What's this? He asked. Open it. Inside were documents. Michael stared in disbelief. Victoria had established a foundation in honor of her father, and she wanted Michael to run it. The salary was generous. But that wasn't what shocked him. The foundation's purpose was helping single parents facing financial hardship. People exactly like him. Why me? He asked quietly. Victoria smiled. Because you've spent your whole life helping others, even when you had almost nothing yourself. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say yes. He laughed. Then he did. Months later, Michael moved his children to California. The foundation helped hundreds of struggling families. Single mothers. Single fathers. Children in need. Every day, Michael witnessed lives being changed through simple acts of kindness. Emma and Noah loved helping too. They volunteered at community events and helped distribute supplies. One evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Michael sat on a bench watching his children play. Victoria joined him. Neither said much. They didn't need to. They simply watched families laughing together. Families whose lives had become a little easier because someone cared. Because someone chose kindness. Michael thought about that mysterious phone call. The one he almost ignored. He had accepted the job hoping to earn money. Instead, he found purpose. He found friendship. He found hope. And most importantly, he discovered that kindness has a way of coming back when you least expect it. No matter how difficult life becomes, never underestimate the power of helping another person. A small act of kindness can brighten someone's darkest day, restore hope, and even change the course of a life. Sometimes the greatest opportunities arrive disguised as simple chances to care for others. And when we choose kindness, we create ripples that travel farther than we can ever imagine. Thank you for watching, and remember, kindness costs little, but its impact can last forever. Here's a completely different version of the story with a new plot and emotional journey. Sometimes life changes because of a single phone call. Not the kind that brings good news. Not the kind you expect. But the kind that arrives when you're at your lowest point and opens a door you never knew existed. What would you do if a mysterious billionaire offered you a job with almost no explanation? Would you trust it? Or would you walk away? For one struggling single father, saying yes to that strange offer would lead him on a journey that changed not only his future, but his heart forever. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment below. Tell us what kindness means to you. Welcome to Kindness Paradise, where every story reminds us that one small act of kindness can change a life. Daniel Brooks was a single father living in a small town in Colorado. Since losing his wife in a car accident 4 years earlier, life had been a constant struggle. His 12-year-old daughter, Lily, was the center of his world. Every decision he made was for her. Daniel worked long hours as a delivery driver. Some months he barely earned enough to cover rent, groceries, and school expenses. He often skipped meals so Lily could have everything she needed. Despite their hardships, Lily always smiled. "Dad," she often said, "better days are coming." Daniel wanted to believe her. One afternoon, after finishing a delivery route, he received a letter. It contained no company logo. No explanation. Only a phone number and a message. "We have a job opportunity that requires honesty, compassion, and patience. If interested, call immediately." Daniel almost threw it away. But something made him call. The next morning he was invited to New York City. All travel expenses were covered. 2 days later, Daniel stood inside one of the tallest office buildings he had ever seen. There he met Eleanor Grant. Eleanor was one of the richest women in America. She owned businesses worth billions. Yet the woman standing before him looked exhausted. Her eyes carried a sadness that money could not hide. "Thank you for coming," she said. Daniel nodded nervously. "What exactly is the job?" Eleanor looked down for a moment. Then she answered, "I need someone to help me find people." Daniel frowned. "What people?" "The people I've forgotten." The answer confused him. Seeing his expression, Eleanor explained. Years earlier, while building her business empire, she had become completely focused on success. She missed birthdays, ignored friendships, lost touch with countless people who had once helped her. Now, after a serious health scare, she realized something important. She had spent decades building wealth while neglecting relationships. She wanted to make things right. The job was simple. Travel with her across the country and help reconnect with people from her past. Daniel accepted. The pay would help Lily tremendously. But he never expected what would happen next. Their first trip took them to a small town in Kansas. There they met an elderly teacher named Mrs. Parker. 30 years earlier, Mrs. Parker had bought Eleanor school supplies when her family couldn't afford them. Eleanor had never forgotten the kindness. When they knocked on her door, Mrs. Parker immediately recognized her former student. Tears filled both women's eyes. For hours they talked and laughed. Before leaving, Eleanor secretly paid for repairs on Mrs. Parker's aging home. Mrs. Parker cried when she discovered what had happened. Daniel watched everything quietly. The gratitude in the woman's eyes stayed with him. Over the following months, they traveled across America. They visited a former neighbor who used to babysit Eleanor for free, a mechanic who once fixed her car without charging her, a waitress who gave her food during difficult times. Each person had shown kindness expecting nothing in return. And each reunion was emotional. Some people laughed. Some cried. Some couldn't believe Eleanor had remembered them after all those years. During these trips, Daniel and Eleanor spent countless hours talking. They talked in airports, on long drives, over coffee in quiet diners. Daniel shared stories about Lily. Eleanor listened carefully. One evening she asked him, "What's the hardest part of being a single parent?" Daniel thought for a moment. "Feeling like you're never doing enough." Eleanor nodded. "I understand that." For the first time in years, Daniel felt truly heard. As the journey continued, Eleanor became increasingly interested in Lily. She often asked about school, her hobbies, her dreams. Daniel proudly told her everything. One day, he admitted something he had never told anyone. Lily wanted to attend a special science academy. It was her dream. But Daniel knew he could never afford it. Eleanor listened without saying a word. Weeks later, their final trip brought them to California. There they visited a retired nurse named Maria. Years ago, Maria had cared for Eleanor's mother during her final illness. Maria's kindness had brought comfort during one of the darkest periods of Eleanor's life. When the visit ended, Maria hugged Eleanor tightly. Then she looked at Daniel. "You've helped her heal," Maria said. Daniel smiled politely. But Eleanor knew those words were true. This journey wasn't only changing her. It was changing him too. For months, he had witnessed the incredible impact of kindness. Not grand gestures. Not expensive gifts. Simple acts of compassion. A teacher helping a child. A neighbor lending support. A stranger showing mercy. Those moments had shaped entire lives. A few days later, the project officially ended. Daniel prepared to return home. He thanked Eleanor for the opportunity. "It was an honor working with you," he said. "The honor was mine," she replied. Before he left, she handed him an envelope. "Open it when you get home." The next evening, Daniel sat at his kitchen table with Lily beside him. He opened the envelope. Inside was a letter. As he read, tears began rolling down his cheeks. "Dad?" Lily asked. "What happened?" Daniel handed her the letter. Lily's eyes widened. Eleanor had created a scholarship fund. The fund would fully pay for Lily's education at the Science Academy. Not just 1 year. Every year until graduation. Lily burst into tears. Daniel could barely speak. Attached to the letter was a handwritten note. It read, "Years ago, strangers invested in my future through kindness. This is my chance to invest in yours." Months later, Lily began attending her dream school. She flourished. Her confidence grew. Her future brightened. Daniel continued working, but his outlook on life had changed forever. He no longer measured success by money alone. He measured it by lives touched. People helped. Hope shared. Years later, Lily would become a successful engineer. Whenever anyone asked how she achieved her dreams, she always told the same story. A story about a tired single dad, a lonely billionaire, and a chain of kindness that connected them both. Because kindness is never wasted. Even when years pass. Even when we think nobody remembers. Every act of compassion leaves a mark on someone's heart. And sometimes, the smallest kindness can travel farther than we ever imagine. So if you have the chance to help someone today, take it. Offer a kind word. Lend a hand. Show compassion. You never know whose life you might change, or how that kindness might return when it's needed most. Thank you for watching, and remember, kindness is the greatest gift we can give, and the greatest legacy we can leave behind.